In this video, I will give you a tip for getting better results when you're using an AI which generates art based on a text prompt. I'll be using enstil.ai, but it should work for any such app, although I haven't tested it on any app except for this one. And the tip is very simply to put the name of an artist in front of your searches. In this particular case, I've used N.C. Wyeth, who's a painter, mainly a painter, who I quite like. And I found that doing so gives the results a particular colour palette that I quite like. N.C. Wyeth has a very distinctive colour palette. He often painted things as if they were either at sunrise or sunset. You can see that particularly in the result on the right. There's a lot of purple and orange, sort of sunsetty colours. And because most text-to-picture apps don't have a set style, they might give you something that looks like a photograph, or they might give you something that looks like a drawing, or they might give you something that looks like an airbrush painting, or whatever. And usually you will have in mind a particular result. You won't want a photograph, or you will want a photograph and you won't want a painting, or whatever it may be. Putting the name of an artist helps, narrow it down. It doesn't mean that the result's going to be definitely what you want, but it eliminates a lot of possible bad results and should make it quicker to get to the result that you want. Unfortunately, it seems to be somewhat unpredictable as to which artists work. In this particular case, N.C. Wyeth seems to work quite consistently, but I also tried Aubrey Beardsley, who's another famous artist, and it obviously does something. I would say it's probably going to give all sort of black and white line drawings, which is what Aubrey Beardsley mostly did, but they really didn't look good. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this time, I suppose. Unfortunately, the load time is about 40 seconds at the moment. I think in my last video about Enstil, I implied that it was always going to be 14 seconds. I didn't realise actually it goes up and down based on the time of day, presumably based on how many people are using it at the time. So, okay, well those results are a little bit better, and that is, if you know Aubrey Beardsley's style, you would recognise certain elements of that. But other artists haven't worked at all. I used Russ Nicholson. Russ Nicholson is a more recent artist who did a lot of art for fantasy gaming in the 80s. He did a lot of drawings for White Dwarf magazine, the British, what used to be role-playing game magazine. It's now a sort of Warhammer only magazine. But anyway, he did a lot of drawings for them, and he did a lot of drawings for the Fighting Fantasy series. But that looks nothing like Russ Nicholson. If it was really going off the drawings of the Russ Nicholson that I'm thinking of, it would be, apart from anything else, it would be black and white. I suspect the difference is simply that the set of images that Enstil was trained on has lots of N.C. Wyeth paintings and very few Russ Nicholson drawings, perhaps because he's a modern artist and his art is under copyright, and that restricts the amount of the amount of pictures of it that are on the internet. Possibly also because there's another Russ Nicholson who's famous as well. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like you can really predict which ones are going to work well. As I say, I found NC Wyeth works well, and I also found that Arthur Rackham, Rackham, works quite well. It does actually look like Arthur Rackham's art, but you'll have to experiment for yourself. And I don't know whether an artist working on one app means that they're going to work the same on another either, unfortunately. But that's the tip. Use the name of an artist, and it will narrow down the results and get you what you want a lot more quickly.